All right. Well, are we ready? Do we want to start?
I think so.
Okay. Hey, hi. Welcome. We are the Belladonna Watch Club. Get comfy with us while we dig into shows, iconic shows and movies that one of us has never seen. And so the rules are one of us has seen it and the other one is coming with fresh eyes. So, who are you?
I am your co host. I'm Jenny. I'm a sometimes actress, currently based in the UK, but I'm from Canada. We grew up together, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We actually
Yes, we
determined
did.
the other day that it's been 20 years as of September that we've known each other.
What better way to celebrate than with a podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Media wise, I was raised on Buffy and British comedy dramas. And that's my little background, I guess. Also, I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Lisa. I also use she, her pronouns. I am based in Ontario, Canada. Uh, we grew up together, and that's how we know each other, even though we are all the way on other sides of the world right now. I am a mom of two little girls. I really love video games. Like cozy gaming is just like my whole jam right now. Like Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, Disney Dreamlight Valley. I'm really, really into cozy gaming and crocheting. Um, like I basically feel like I'm a bit of a grandma. Like everything that I like to do, like I like to bake and I like to crochet, and I just really like cozy and homey, and I used to be pretty extroverted and have a very active social life, but now I'm happy being at home. I'm very happy being at home and sleeping when I can.
Softened in your adulthood.
I have quite a bit. In terms of media, in terms of like what I grew up with, I used to watch a lot of true crime stuff with my parents. Well, not my parents. My dad's
Really?
terrified of it. No, not my dad, but my mom. So like Criminal Minds and CSI and Law and Order and like all of
Oh,
those.
yeah.
That was really, really big in my house. My dad and I would always watch the older movies and older stuff. Like one of my favorite things to watch with him was the Guys and Dolls with Frank Sinatra and Ocean's 11, like all of that stuff I used to watch with my dad. And he'd always be the one that I'd be able to rope into watching Disney with me. Um,
Perfect.
So I was very much mistaken when I said I watched true crime with my parents. It was like Disney and like 50s, 60s with my dad and true crime with my mom. Um,
That was
but
one of the things
yeah,
we bonded over, wasn't it? It was sort of the classic films and Frank Sinatra and the old school stuff.
yeah, that's a good point because we met in music theater class. So there was a lot
That's right.
of classic music and Broadway and oldies and that kind of stuff. Oh, that was really fun.
And what are we doing here?
So we are watching drumroll the Gilmore Girls. So
Yes.
I've seen it. I've seen all of it, and you have not.
I have not. Nope, nope. Somehow, despite being in love with TV in the late 90s, early 2000s, I I never came across it, and it never really entered my viewing experience somehow. I've heard about it, of course, and I've had people tell me about it and tell me how much they love it, but it just never came my way. But we are righting that wrong, and
Oh
we're
yes,
going to discuss it together.
absolutely. So I didn't watch it when it was first airing. I was too young, I think, for the show when it was first airing. But my sister, I think, saw a bit of it. It was definitely familiar to me, and I remember maybe it was just from flipping through the channels and seeing bits of it as I was trying to find something else to watch because it came out in 2000, which means I would have been 11, and I think that was like just a bit too
Hmm.
mature. I think I was watching SpongeBob when I was 11. So
Whereas I was watching stuff that was like age 14 or 15 plus when I was about 7.
okay,
I started watching Buffy when I was 8, and and then we were watching like um, British drama shows that were supposed to be like PG-13, and I was 6.
I read a lot. I don't think I watched like a ton of TV. I read
Mhm.
a lot. I was like Babysitter's Club all the time. So
Yes.
so we're watching the Gilmore Girls. I finally got through the whole season when it came onto Netflix, maybe 5, 6 years ago. Uh, Maybe a little bit longer than that. I'm not sure. Time means nothing to me now that I have children. I have no idea how long it's been since anything. And so I watched the whole series, and then when the reboot came out, or the Year in the Life, the extra bit that they just launched, I watched that too. But every fall, I just crave Gilmore Girls. It's so cozy, and the way that they do up all the sets, and like it's just warm and festive and seasonal. And every single October, actually, probably, if I'm being honest, it's like August, because August I'm done with. We're kind of like, okay, let's just like turn up the air conditioning, put on a sweater, and
Autumn
gonna
begins
watch.
in August.
I have a really hard time with that.
We're gonna pretend. We're gonna pretend it's actually autumn. We're
Yes.
gonna jump into Gilmore Girls.
Yes.
All
Okay.
right.
So, season 1, episode 1, pilot. I tried to do a brief synopsis of it, but so much happens, and they introduce so many important things in such a short amount of time. But essentially, we're introduced to Lorelai and Rory at Luke's diner. So iconic, Luke's diner. Two things are apparent very quickly. Lorelai has a caffeine addiction, and she was a teen mom and with a now teenage daughter. So she's in her early 30s. She's 32 when we first meet her, and Rory is 16. Um, and so from there, basically we get so many glimpses of what's important and kind of what's to come. So we see the Dragonfly Inn where Lorelai works, and it shows that even though she was a teen mom, she's thriving and successful. We get like a huge splash of the wit and banter that is the whole series is renowned for its quick wit and like really rapid lines. And so a lot of that comes up with even just in the first few minutes of the show, we get a huge blast of that. Then it goes to following Rory a little bit more. So it shows her at school and how she's very studious and how she doesn't fit in with the other girls because she's actually doing the work and she works hard and she's very academic. Whereas maybe the other small town students are not quite so much. Cut to Lorelai finding out that Rory has been accepted to Chilton, the very prestigious private school that is basically going to hopefully accelerate her studies to get her into an Ivy League school. She's wanted to go to Harvard her whole life. The caveat being that Lorelai doesn't actually have the tuition money, so she has to go talk to her parents and ask for the tuition money, which is problematic in itself because Lorelai and her parents have a very strained relationship. So it was extremely difficult for Lorelai to go ask for the money, while at the exact same moment, Rory meets a boy and decides she doesn't want to go to Chilton anymore.
Dun
So,
dun dun.
dun, 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 right. So big family drama ensues, and one of the conditions of Lorelai's parents giving her the money is that they need to come to Friday night dinners every Friday night for an indeterminate period of time. And so Lorelai and Rory get into it. Everybody's angry, and they end up at Friday night dinner. And then Lorelai and her parents end up arguing, which is, you see that coming from a mile away. You could just feel the tension when she goes to ask for the money. You know that it's just not a good scene. And the episode ends with Rory realizing how much it's actually costing her mother to send her to this school and sort of conceding to wanting to go to the school as an olive branch to her mom, basically being like, I realize how much you're sacrificing for for me to go to this
Mm.
school. So a lot happens in this episode. And that was really hard to summarize, but I think it was as concise as I could get it.
But you're right. A lot happens in just the first episode. I feel like I know these people already. So, reminder, I have never seen the show at all. I'm watching these episode by episode. And I already, just by the end of, well, by like partway through the first episode, I feel like I have friends. I feel like I know these
Oh,
people and I care about them, and I feel like I know the whole town. One of the first things that was apparent to me is that despite the show being called Gilmore Girls, it's it really seems like it's a show about the people of the town and about the town. So like yes, they're the main focus, but like right off the bat we meet the staff at the hotel who are such totally different personalities. And we
Michelle
meet the
and
yes,
Suki.
it's I love to see a cast of characters that are also different to one another, but they they work somehow, and it makes the relationships between the characters so different and so interesting. Being able to get a story from big characters like that is what's really really appealing to me. I don't need like big dramatic world changing events to happen in the plot. I really like character driven story, and I'm getting that a lot here. I'm loving it.
Oh yeah, like every character is so lovable in their own way, for sure. Like even the characters that are, kind of clearly set out to be villains all have their none of the characters are black and white, for sure. There's just something about them that's a little bit relatable, just relatable enough for you to become attached to
Mm-hmm.
them. Or at least
Mm-hmm.
even if it's not necessarily relatable, it's understandable. Like their characters are pretty well-rounded, I feel. We meet so many important characters in this first episode. I made a list of some of the really important ones that we see. So, Luke, from the very get-go, we meet Luke, and then we meet Michelle at the hotel. We meet Suki. We meet Lane, Rory's bestie, who, by the way, is played by Keiko Agena, who was 28 when she was right. She's playing a 16-year-old and she's
Oh my
28.
gosh.
This woman is flawless. She's incredible.
Ah,
Um, Miss Patty.
it's Patty.
Uh, adore Miss Patty. And obviously Emily and Richard, very important characters.
They're the
Um,
parents, yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Okay. Who I, by the way, just jumping in,
Oh yeah.
it's Baby's mom from Dirty Dancing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, why is she so familiar? Who is this? Who is this? And then suddenly I could like I was calling her Marge in my head. That's her name. That's the character's name
Okay.
in Dirty Dancing. And that's her. I can hear her saying, baby, stand up straight. And something about, oh, look at all this food. Are they still
Yeah.
starving Europe? And what does it say? Are there still starving children in Europe? And it's like, try Southeast Asia, ma. Or something like that. I love Dirty Dancing, by the way.
Yeah. Emily Bishop does white rich people very, very well.
Mhm,
She
mhm.
does the wealthy, put together woman incredibly well. I think that's her name, Emily Bishop. Um,
Kelly?
oh, it's of course Emily Gilmore, Kelly Bishop. That's the one. What I find this watch around for me, so I'm looking at it through a different lens than I was before because when I first watched it, I didn't have kids. So
Right.
I was just like a 20 something watching it at home. I mean, now I'm 30 something watching it at home, but I have two children. And so I'm looking at it in terms of Lorelai's relationship to Rory, but also Lorelai's relationship to her mother, Emily, and
Yeah.
the differences in between how I would parent, how I've been parented, or from my children's perspective of like how they would feel in a situation like that. And it is completely different already just from the first episode. It's like, oh my God, it's completely different. And now it's changed the meaning of the show, like Gilmore Girls. To me, it's not
Right.
just Rory and Lorelai anymore. It also encompasses Emily, which for me didn't as much before, but she's also one of the Gilmore Girls and plays an
Mhm.
extremely important role in like the entire course of the show. So I'd never really looped her into that. So what were your thoughts as a whole on this first episode?
Well, okay. I was instantly in it because of the first song
I knew
being
you would be. I knew
There She
it. As
Goes.
soon as it started, there she
There
goes.
she goes. Instantly. It just
I knew it.
absolute. You know, um,
It
I felt
transports you to
like
the 90s. It just like, bing, you're there.
completely.
You're here.
Yeah, I just felt safe here as well. And the opening shot, I think, is of like a street, like
With
a
Stars
I guess
Hollow.
it's like main
Yeah.
street of a small village. Yeah, it looks like Canada,
It
and so
does, doesn't it?
it does. It felt really like homey and familiar to me. But yeah, okay. Some standout things for me for the episode in general. Loved meeting so many personalities all at once. It didn't feel overwhelming. It just sort of, I felt like I was sort of walking through the town and just like dropping in and meeting people who populate it. I loved the diversity of personalities, not just in like, oh, she's a quirky one, she's a shy one, she's a whatever, but they have, like, it's clear that they have different standards as well. Like they've got personal standards and levels of introvert and extrovert and their own personal goals, and they were all right there, right up at the front. You learn so much in such a short span of time. But I was invested in everybody. I wanted to know. And I found that I love the maturity in the conflicts. And I think what I mean by that was that no one was a nag, or rather, the conflict wasn't coming from someone being a nag or a bully or insulting. You know, it was everyone understood when it was just sort of like a quick quip or like a little poke or prod. Like the wit flows so well because no, it doesn't get stopped up
Hmm.
on is this an insult, or what do you mean by that? Excuse me, why would you say that? Nothing. There was nothing like that. The conflict came from the actual issues rather than, just butting heads or something.
Yeah, the jabs and the snide
Yeah.
comments. And
Yeah, it's understood that, well, that's how she speaks. That's what we talk about.
yeah.
That's our way.
What's funny about that actually is that that works really well with everybody in Lorelai's entourage except for her mother. It
Yes.
never lands with her mother. And that's when it becomes petty from Lorelai's side because she knows how her mother is, and neither of them will take a step down and like shift to accommodate the other person's personality or preferences. And I think
Mm.
it's really funny that because I have some stuff written down about that too, and I have some clips actually of just how dysfunctional their relationship is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's largely based on the small quips like that because
Yes.
they never land.
Mm-hmm. It
Yeah.
was amazing actually how when we finally get to that scene where we meet her parents, and it's Lorelai in the living room speaking with her mother. It feel like the shift in the comfort of the whole show. It's such a drastic contrast of of comfort, and I think the performance from both actresses is fantastic.
I actually have a
But
clip of it. Should we quickly take a peek?
yes, yes, by all means, let's go.
You said you were taking a business class?
Yeah, yeah. I'm taking a business class at the college twice a week. I'm sure I told you.
Well, if you're sure, then you must have.
So tense.
Would you like some tea?
I would love some coffee.
And just that right there, it speaks volumes, right?
The Lorelai who we have up to this point seen just rattle off words. She doesn't stumble over her sentences. There's no ums and awkwards and stiffness. And even like asking about coffee, compare that to the first scene of the episode where she's there, she's ready for coffee. Here, gimme. There's her mug, she's totally at ease. So just brilliant, really, really brilliant.
Yeah. She's so
contrast
far
there.
out of her comfort zone. But I almost feel like the asking for coffee was pointed. Like she could have easily just said,
Yes.
yes, a cup of tea would be nice. Mom, thank you. And you want to root for Lorelai because she's the main character. You want her to be like the clear protagonist in every sense of the word. But then in moments like that where you feel she just is so like emotionally stunted that
Yeah.
she can't bring herself to concede at all to
No.
Emily in any way, shape, or form. Whereas Emily is just like, she's mean. Like, she is obviously fed up with
Yep.
everything that Lorelai's kind of put them through. But like, oh, if you told us, well, then you must have told us. Like,
I want to talk about that the opening scene and how quickly we get the relationship between Lorelai and Rory. Instantly, they're on the same page. Instantly, we've got that they're communicating and they're blunt, but they both are. They're like the same level of bluntness. It's like they are not just speaking the same language, but like with the same tones and the same everything. I loved how honest and open they both were with each other. It's an unusual mother-daughter type relationship, but
yeah,
that's I
definitely.
guess what we're seeing with them being so much like closer in age and that kind of. I imagine that they've done a lot of things together, if not like everything together for all of Rory's lifetime.
Oh, for sure. And without a father figure, it was just the two of them. So obviously a lot of Lorelai's personality was imparted to onto Rory. And their bond and their relationship is extremely strong. And you see that from the very beginning. And one of the things that I love about the show, and that they start off again, like right in the first scene, is the amount of pop culture references that they use. I found myself Googling quite a few of them just because I was like, I got the gist of it, but I didn't necessarily understand the actual context. And one of the ones that they have at the beginning with the makeup is like, RuPaul doesn't need this much makeup. And I was just like, what? Because also I hadn't watched, or like I wasn't very familiar with RuPaul before going through and watching it the first time. And since then I've watched all of RuPaul's Drag Race, and it's fantastic. And I encourage everybody to run, not walk, to watch RuPaul's Drag Race if they haven't. But
To sashay and watch
away. Go watch RuPaul's Drag Race. And I loved that was one of the first quotes that I picked up on. And I actually also wrote a list of ones that I needed to Google because I was like, I don't know what this means. So I had to Google Zsa Zsa Gabor. I'd heard of her, but I wasn't sure what the context was. And it was like, okay, well, like Suki is asking about where the pate is. She's like, Zsa Zsa Gabor is out. So like socialite. I had to Google who FloJo was.
Oh yeah,
FloJo
the runner with the long nails.
Yeah, the runner. Yeah. I had to Google Ruth Gordon, I guess from Rosemary's Baby. I haven't seen Rosemary's Baby, so I didn't.
No idea.
Yeah, Dean. It's in Rory and Dean's first interaction, and I had to Google when Lorelai says, "When we get home, you can pull a Menendez," which was two brothers who killed their parents.
Oh my gosh! Oh, all right.
Yeah. So it's when they were about to walk into the house for Friday night dinner, and Rory was still mad at Lorelai. She's like, "You need to be civil, and when we get home, you can pull a Menendez." It's like, what does that mean? So some of them are pretty dark.
I absolutely loved pointing out Macy Gray, the Macy Gray CD. Yeah. That, oh my God, straight, I was right back to grade 5. It was, it's the year 2000. I'm right there, buddy. Yeah. But also, remember flavored lip balms?
Yes, I do. I think about them. Is this my Roman Empire? Because I actually think about my old school flavored lip balms all the time. I've literally Googled trying to find what some of my old lip balms were. Is that normal?
I don't know, but I've been on the hunt. Okay, this is a total sidebar, but I've been on the hunt for a lip gloss that will rival the kind of things that people had in like 2000, 2001. because everything now is just like it's all plumping, or it's all there's like some kind of sheen to it, or obviously like a decade ago it was all everything was matte this and matte that. But I remember being 11 or 12, so this would have been 2000, 2001, and I think it was either a Wet n Wild or a Lip Smackers lip gloss, but it was sour. It was like a
Ooh.
sour watermelon.
Was it in the
Why the
clear
heck?
plastic tube? Like it was clear. It was very watery?
No.
Oh, okay. Different
It was
one.
like it was it was a plastic like bottle thing, so it had like a doe foot applicator. And I think it was pink and green, like a watermelon, something like that. Might have been Lip Smackers. But why the heck was I putting something sour and tingly on my lips, just irritating the lips? It wasn't a plumping thing. It was just, but I can still taste it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still there. But yeah, it just took me right back there when they mentioned all that.
It was fun for me watching the first episode again and seeing what type of things that they didn't continue to run with. So some
Oh,
of I'm not going to give too much away,
thank you.
but just some of the dynamics that they decided. I don't know if it was just unpopular or what, but this is actually one of the scenes that it just rubbed me the wrong way, knowing the characters a little bit later on versus like having watched this episode.
Mm-hmm.
You're happy.
Yeah,
Did you do something slutty?
I'm not that happy.
That scene, it was like, ew.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like it. First of all, what's with the giggling? So much giggling in this episode. Like there was the giggling at the table with like the lip glosses, and there was the giggling.
That's right.
There's not that much giggling in the show. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay.
Like this episode was giggle fest. It was so weird. Later on, and I don't feel bad like giving this part away, but one of the things with Lorelai and her relationship with Rory is that it was always just the two of them. And Lorelai was very careful about her relationships and dating and wasn't really willing to do a lot of that because her relationship with Rory was the most important thing, and her like being a mother and working at the inn and her career, those were the important things for her. So for this like casual like, hey mom, are you being slutty, like that was weird and not fully in their characters as they move forward. Something else that I got a clip of that I just adore, and you will appreciate this as well. Anybody who's ever worked customer service or retail will appreciate this one. It's just
we have a wedding party here. No, there is really nothing I can do. Yes, I'm sure. A positive. No, I don't have to look, ma'am. Yes, of course I look.
this part. Like we've all done it. We've all done it. We know. Come on, Michelle. It was just, Michelle embodies my intrusive thoughts. I feel like.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Gosh, I wish I had his courage when it comes to, taking no nonsense at work. Oh gosh, I wish I could muster that up. I've worked in various forms of retail for nearly 15 years. Not just retail, but customer service for 15 years. And I have made a personal vow to myself that I will never, ever go back. This is also the third time that I've made this vow to myself.
Oh,
so hopefully, hopefully third time's a charm and it sticks.
So what drives me insane about the relationship between Emily and Richard and their daughter is that they're so either willfully ignorant or completely oblivious to the effect that their words and actions have on her. And I have two different clips here that highlight just how, like, I'm certain it comes from a place of pain, but it's almost triggering for me to watch this show because it just would hurt so much being on the receiving end of like these quips.
Ep1? Oh, that's fancy.
Well, it's not every day that I have my girls here for dinner on a day the banks are open.
Like that job right there, like that's not necessary. They're there,
Totally.
make it pleasant, you know?
Yeah.
And then this one here just gets me right in the gut.
How are things at the motel?
The inn? They're great.
The fact that he calls it the motel when she has ostensibly been working there for what, 15 years? Like that
Yeah.
infuriates me.
Well, and she's what? An executive manager, I think she says later on.
Lorelai's the executive manager now. Isn't that wonderful?
Speaking of which, Christopher called yesterday.
Speaking of which, how is that a speaking of which?
What's the
Christopher?
Yes, Christopher. That's
Baby daddy.
that's Rory's dad. That's it. An internet startup? Really?
2000.
An internet startup?
Why do
Even so, an executive manager versus an internet startup. Come on now.
Right?
Come on.
That's a good point. I hadn't actually thought of that, like compared the two positions. It's a motel, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I really liked the addition of Lorelai having something to do when she leaves the room and goes into the kitchen. I think it was really, really clever storytelling and a good, like, really good just character choice. She goes into the kitchen and she starts cleaning the pan, even though there's like maids and staff there. You can tell she just needs something to do to keep herself busy. And I just really loved that being an acting choice and a character choice. It makes it so much richer, and without even saying anything, you can just tell that she's in a frazzle and she just needs to direct her energy somewhere. And I thought that was a really, really cool choice.
Yeah, like she's super agitated, and you could tell that she's just like brimming with it. Like she needs to physically be doing something. Otherwise, who knows what she would end up doing, right? Like she would like break something, or like she needs to be putting herself to good use. Otherwise, she would totally make it way worse for herself. But Lorelai is not innocent by any means of like furthering their disappointment. I get not disappointment, but just like the tension and the conflict in their relationship for sure. This gets me every time. Every time Lorelai does something petty, I'm like 50% yes, Lorelai, and then 50% like, are you like, what's wrong with you? Why
Grow
are
up.
you doing this? Exactly, grow up. And unfortunately, I see some of myself in Lorelai. Like when she and Rory are arguing at the beginning, and Lorelai's just like digging in. I'm like, oh no, oh no. Like here,
Right on time.
Yeah, no traffic at all.
I can't tell you what a treat it is to have you girls here.
Oh, well, we're excited too.
Is that a collector's cup, or can I throw it away for you?
Oh,
collector's cup.
In the kitchen, please.
sorry.
So, I want to hear all about Chilton.
Well, I haven't actually started yet.
Lorelai. Like, come on, girl. I get it. I think my mom would be the kind of person, like she's the one that has like two different types of hand towels. Like one of them is for the dishes, one of them is for the hands, and you cannot use your hands on the like dish towel. You have to use your hands on the hand towel, and there's like one on one bar, one on the other. Like, so I get that level of like, just who cares? There's a waste bin right beside the door. Why can't I use the waste bin for my waste? Like, I get it. But also, you know that Emily's going to come by and sees that it's there and be like, Laura, like that's a job in her own way.
A few of my friends growing up had parents who were maybe not quite as
Particular?
sure as those Gilmore parents. And visiting these friends' houses, I came from a household where like sort of anything goes. You know, we didn't really have house rules. I'm from a very like not very strict parenting household thing. Everything was just very like, okay, everyone gets on with whatever they want to get on with. But visiting these friends' houses and learning the rules for the first time, I would be paranoid to do anything. Like I would probably, I reckon if I if I entered that front door at the Gilmore house there, and I had like tissues in my pocket, and then I saw the waste bin right there, and I would like if I needed to just get rid of them, if the waste bin's empty, I don't I don't I don't know if I should put them. I don't know if I should drop my Kleenex in or not, or like what. And I would get so tense at these houses that I didn't know. I couldn't speak. I didn't know if I should like ask questions or say hello or make conversation. And I'm really glad that I've grown out of that mostly, but that was definitely something that I witnessed growing up and seeing households like this where like this is a decorative waste bin, or like this is you're not allowed in the kitchen. Children are not allowed in the kitchen. Oh, how do I get a glass of water then? Just like weird rules that I just didn't understand, and so I wouldn't even. I'd get so terrified to even put a foot wrong that I would just kind of follow one step behind whatever friend I was visiting.
Was my house like
uncomfortable. No, but I did get confused about the 2 living rooms.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's like the family room and the living room, and like nobody watched anything in the living room ever. It's so weird. It's less like that now, but it still kind of is. So anyway, we don't need to go into my parents' like household layout and their uses. That's not necessary right now. But it still actually really surprises me when I go over to my parents' house and someone's watching TV in the living room. I'm like, what?
What, this works?
Like,
you mean it works? Oh,
God, what is happening? It does really, really confuse me. And when my children go into that room, I still feel very like, oh, really in here.
Don't touch anything.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, my mom has like 19 decorative camels in that room. I don't really need to be in there. It's not something my life is missing. Love you, Mom, if you ever watch this. Let me see. What else do I have here? So you wanted to talk about our friend Dean.
Oh yeah.
Let me just pull up a little clip of our friend Dean here.
Chicago. Windy. Oprah.
Yeah, that's the place. I'm Dean.
Hi.
Okay, in my notes, so we first see him outside of the school, and he's just like the only person there with like a leather jacket leaning all cool next to the wall, and we just sort of walk past him, but then the camera zooms in on him, and it's like, who is that guy? Is basically what I wrote down in my notes. Who is that guy? And I recognized the actor, but wasn't sure where from. I know now it's Jared Padalecki. That's fine. I've literally never said his name out loud before, so I hope I said it right. But I kept calling him Mushroom Cut Joe for the rest of the episode. I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, his hair is like just the curtain of hair across his face.
It brought me back to probably 1996 and the first time I ever saw the Backstreet Boys. In the Get Down music video, and that is some Nick Carter hair, and it is
Nick Carter hair. It just needs a bit of bleach.
Mushroom Cut Joe. Okay. I have a small issue with him that he sounds like a teacher. Is he a student?
He's a student. Yeah.
He's a student. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He's one of Rory's peers.
Okay. One of those students who never has a backpack or anything.
Yeah, he's too cool for a backpack.
Okay, fair enough.
That also is to contrast Rory for sure with her like giant box of books.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, his voice. Whoa, he sounds like a teacher.
Interesting. I didn't.
I
pick
wasn't
up on
quite
that.
sure.
I'm gonna have to listen in the next episode to be like, is he?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he just sounded like older and just a total outsider, and I was so confused by this man who was suddenly talking to us, and I sort of put myself in Rory's place, and like, if that was me and he started talking to me, I probably wouldn't be able to answer him. I would just be
Yeah.
like, you're not actually talking to me, because no guys like that ever spoke to me. Like, I was one of the like the nerdy, smart-ish girls. Like, no guys like that ever spoke to me. They're the ones who, even if they were nice, they would have a friend who was like cruel or, a slight bully. And the and like the bully would say something rude about me, and then the nice guy would like go along with it or something. You know what I mean? And and yeah, so this was a little fantasy moment for me, watching
Well,
this exchange happen.
I can see how, like, I can picture you instead of Rory and how that would have gone down for sure. And you would have just been like gobsmacked and deer in headlights, like, what? But for Dean, he's definitely not one of the cool kids because they don't make him like a jock. They don't make
No.
him, one of the like popular guys for sure. I think the choice of the leather coat and stuff further paint him as like, an outsider because he doesn't have like he's not from there. He doesn't dress like anybody else, and so I think that he's definitely more of an outcast in the same way that Rory is, just like slightly differently. And I find it really interesting how his character starts out and then where it's going to go.
Ooh,
Because
yes, I'm intrigued.
it's a little bit different as the series goes on from the Dean that we get in the first episode.
Okay. I rather like that that we are getting a lot of him being like the outsider. He's from a different city. He's just come here. He doesn't he's despite looking like sort of the typical cheesy cute boy, I say all the right things. I know I'm cute and like everybody wants me and I'm popular. Despite looking that way, he's not on solid ground. Like he's not ruling the roost here like you would normally see in a lot of these teen and young adult shows. So he manages to avoid that cheesy cute boy thing, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, I think it's interesting to see that kind of a character on his own. So if I imagine, if I'm thinking back to this pretend boy I've got in my brain, supposedly in this fantasy, he's talking to me. Those people, those boys, without their like entourage and backup, can be very different people. So I really like that we're sort of able to meet him as him with sort of no preconceptions or anything. We're straight into, okay, he looks this way and he sounds this way and he's pretty cool, but we're getting right into the heart of him and his interests and the real him, I think, anyway, straight away. And that stood out to me.
I can't wait for you to get more Dean later. It's gonna be awesome.
I do have to say though, so as a not cool, as in not one of the cool kids, not cool, smarty-ish nerd girl who got bullied and was never ever shown any interest by anyone of the opposite gender or my preferred gender. I think I developed a sort of a defense against attractive young men. That like if some guy comes along and he's like stereotypically handsome, my immediate instinct is like, nope, don't like you. You're going to be mean to me, aren't you? Yeah, my defense. I automatically assume that they're going to be some kind of a bully or they're going to cause some kind of trouble or they're conniving or something. And that's a personal issue. I know that. That's a me problem.
Like you think that they're just not genuinely interested in talking to you and that there's some sort of like ulterior motive or
well, yeah. I think my guess is always, or my assumption is always that like there's going to be some kind of humiliation involved. Someone has put them up to it. Like if it was just that one guy talking to me, I'd be like looking around like, okay, where are your friends and where are they? Because they're probably laughing at us right now, right?
Oh, I hate that.
Yes, yeah, so do I. But it just seemed like that's just the way of the world. when I was that age. Now I'm looking at it and going, girl, have a backbone.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to have Rory's even shaky confidence. You know, she's definitely not super confident in that moment.
Yeah,
She
no,
rambles
shoot.
and babbles. But
Round
even
cakes.
that, yeah, yeah, yeah. But yes, I envy her mild, low level of courage in that moment.
So I have one last clip that I want to show.
Yes, please.
I couldn't help myself. I love the pan up.
You look nice. Really nice.
I had a meeting earlier at the bank. They like collars. You look nice, too.
I had a flagellation to go to.
Ah. The way
Brilliant
they-
choice of the word flagellation.
right? Like, that's such a good word to break the moment also. Because like flagellation, flatulence? Like, what are you talking about? The chemistry and the way they look at each other, like she's a yummy snack and he's a yummy snack, and they just want to. I love it. I can't help it. The chemistry is so good.
So remind me his name.
Luke.
Oh, so it is Luke of Luke's Diner. I
Correct.
see. Okay. Yes. Yeah, you'll have to bear with me. I'm still coming to terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my preference is what he was wearing before.
Oh yeah. No, my preference is the expression that he had on his face when he looked at her, saying that she looked good. That's what I'm here
Yes.
for. The
Yes.
shirt, whatever. The interaction.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's
Yeah.
interesting too how clothing can clothing and outfit choice can affect someone's personality and behavior even in their own like regular surroundings and settings. So her noticing that he's dressed a little differently, he's a little bit shifty. You know, just he's not in his
Little sheepish.
comfortable. Oh,
Yeah.
she's in my diner. Here she is. I can hassle her about caffeine and coffee. Blah blah blah. Yeah, sheepish. That's such a good word. And I'm really intrigued by how just that can inform their chemistry. Very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I love their dynamic so much. For the record, I have a Luke's Diner poster in my dining room. I adore Luke so much. And I can see some resemblance of Luke to my husband.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
Got the flannel, and the plaids, and the jeans, and a little bit a man of fewer words, perhaps.
Yes. Yes.
Although,
Which
to
is
be
such a great
fair-
contrast. Such a great contrast to our woman of wit and words.
Who, me?
Yes. Miss Lisa in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah, but for the record, I met Steve before I watched Gilmore Girls. So maybe my love of Luke comes from my husband first. Or I just have a type.
That's a high compliment to Steve, your husband. So
Yes,
I think
suppose
anyway.
it is. Yeah. Okay, so is there anything else you wanted to say before we go into the surprise lightning round that I've planned for you?
Oh, fabulous. Yes. Actually, yes. So towards the end, I really appreciated that Lorelai was in the position where she was battling accepting help. And not just her, but like everybody or several of the characters in some way were battling accepting help, which is a personal thing for me, something that I really struggle with, probably more than you'd think. Some of the sacrifices that you have to make and some of the like personal knocks that you have to take, or just admitting to yourself that you need help, and then also accepting help from people who are willingly giving it. Obviously, it's going to be very different depending on the particular situation, but I don't see that much in media as that being one of the conflict or one of the dramatic points. And so I really appreciated seeing a young adult having to deal with that. And then just after that scene, so they've they're accepting the help. They are moving along. I really, I picked up on how many times they would use words that I thought people only used in like therapy sessions and stuff. So you hear about like couples counseling and whatever, and you're supposed to use words like I think and I feel, that kind of language. And that's worked into the script everywhere. And
Interesting.
right in that, right towards that, in the final few scenes, just as Lorelai is stepping out from her parents' house, and she's made this sacrifice and she's accepted their help and their assistance. She says, "I feel shorter," which in so few words tells you so much more than just those couple words. And then you get Rory with really nice message of support and gratitude in saying, "I think it was brave of you to do all
Ask
that."
them for money. Yeah.
Yeah, which is so wonderful to get that kind of communication from any characters you see on TV. So a nice "I feel" sentiment, and "I think it was brave of you." Like it just shows such a nice relationship between them. I think it's definitely not something that you see in mother daughters very often.
Yeah, like you can tell even just from that interaction how hard Lorelai tried to raise her daughter to have a relationship like so unlike the one that she has with her own mother, that like beyond anything else, that their relationship was more important than all of the frills and everything that mattered to the Gilmores. So Richard and Emily, because they have their lifestyle, they have their expectations, they have their whole society minded way of thinking, like traditional old money, like that kind of thought or mentality. And it's not about your relationship with your children. It's about what your children are accomplishing and how they're behaving and what they're doing. Whereas you can tell that Lorelai really focused on her bond with Rory. And it's speaks to her emotional intelligence at 16, where she can like tell her mom that like she was being really brave. And just thinking forward to other Rory moments where like nobody's perfect and her emotional intelligence does not come through all the time, but she's also a teenager. So like I'm gonna give her a little bit of slack for that. And just kind of going back to what you were saying about asking for help and the struggle about asking for help. So I do feel like in media, in shows and movies and stuff, you do see men struggling to ask for help, and that it is portrayed as more of like a male centric issue. Because you know, men
pride thing.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't see a lot of prideful women who are unable to ask for help. Like when the women, they're often they either don't need help because someone's automatically doing everything for them, or they're portrayed as these like super confident women who are able to accomplish anything, and they're like the CEOs or the whoever, right? But you're not often shown, the women who have a hard time asking for help, who need help, and then can actually go through it with it and do it. And I think it's interesting that they took what in my opinion is primarily a plot point for men, and they've expanded it a little bit.
Definitely.
So I have just 3 questions for you. You need to answer as fast as you can, or not. It doesn't matter. No pressure.
Okay.
It's not an anxiety thing. I just want it to be like your gut reaction. You like your immediate.
Okay. All right,
like,
I'm ready.
Okay.
Good. Take a sip of tea first. Let's go. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
Your favorite character so far?
Oh God! So much for Spitfire round. Oh God. Oh my God, no, Lorelai.
Okay.
Yep.
Your least favorite character so far?
Lane's mom.
Ooh, yeah, Mrs. Kim. She's nuts. Oh my God, she's nuts.
I don't know. She's still in my brain. We barely even see her, but she's still in my brain.
I know. I feel like we hear her from a distance more than we actually see her. Like over here. Yeah, Mrs. Kim is a whole piece of work. We'll get more of Mrs. Kim, and we'll get to talk about her more in future episodes. We didn't touch on her
Okay.
at all today. But that's a good choice. That's a very good choice. And your favorite setting or location? Like, what was your favorite place to be?
Ooh. Oh, the diner.
Hmm.
Absolutely in the diner. I mean, we had some really nice outdoor shots down the street, walking along the sidewalk, and I love those. I love when we get more of a sense of the world. But yeah, I love I love when a show has like a go-to central location that, like, even if in the episode they venture off, like someone's out of town for the day and then they wind up back, but having that one sort of one location that they always get back to, and we always visit it like at least once a day. It sort of grounds the show a little bit. In Buffy, we had the library that was sort of the HQ, you know, and then eventually that becomes, I guess it becomes Buffy's house. Then it's Giles's house, her watcher. Then it's the magic box, the shop magic store, and I really, really appreciate that kind of sense of we can always come back here, and it provides some kind of a groundedness for the show.
Awesome.
To me,
I love
anyway.
that. Well, next week we're actually, or next episode, maybe next few episodes, who knows? We're in for a little something different because you are coming to visit me.
That's right.
And other people, allegedly. So, as much as this is probably going to be our usual setup, we are hopefully going to record an episode or two or more. I don't know. While you're visiting us in Canada.
I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah.
As we speak, in less than 24 hours, I will be on a plane. So just to give you some context there, I'm in the midst of packing, and I'm on my way. And the next time you see us and hear from us, we will be together. I'm so excited.
That's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna need another chair down here.
Well, you started the intro. Let me send us off. I just want to say thanks, everybody, for joining us. And I hope you catch us next Thursday, or ideally Thursday. We are going to be working out a schedule for ourselves. You can find us on YouTube, at least. And as far as our podcasts, wherever you stream your podcast. In the meantime, thanks so much for hanging out with us.
This was so much fun, and I can't wait to record the next episode with you and to see you and hug you.
I'm so ready.
Yeah.
I'm so ready.
Bye.
Bye-bye.